There is no time like the present to get your finances in order. So today, I'm going to share with you how I organize our finances. I'll show you exactly where we keep all of our money, how I keep it organized, and some tips to keep your finances and your budgeting as simple as possible. Hey there, I'm Brittany Flammer, a financial coach with videos all about budgeting and money saving tips for you and your family. To begin with, we have one main checking account. This main checking account is where all of our income goes to. Our paychecks are deposited into this account. Everything goes in here. And then the money in this account we use to transfer to savings accounts or to investments or to pay our monthly expenses and our bills. Now, we have our main checking account in a local bank. The only reason we go with a local physical bank is because we've had this account for years. It is convenient once in a while to have a branch that we can go into if we have to deposit some cash, or what we use it the most for is a notary. We get free, they have access to a notary for free since we have an account there. We do also have an online checking account. Now, we use this for my husband for his personal money. He has a separate account, and anything that he is going to spend money on, we transfer into his online checking account. We looked at doing it at our local bank, but where we already had one checking account, there were most likely going to be fees, and it just seemed easier to do online where we didn't have any fees, didn't have to jump through any hoops to avoid fees. So we opened up an online checking account for him. It's linked to our main checking account. So every month, the money for him is automatically transferred into his online checking account. Now, our emergency fund, we keep separate from all of our other accounts. It's in an online savings account, also known as a high yield savings account. It's over here on its own, all by itself. I like having it in an online savings account because it's separate from all of our main finances, but it's also earning interest. It's not going to make us money. It's not an investment, but at least it's earning some interest. Obviously, the rate fluctuates based on the economy. Right now, I think we're at 3.5 or maybe it's 3.3% is what we're earning in our online savings account. But I love it because it's linked to our main checking account. So within 2 or 3 days, if we need the money from our emergency fund, we can access it. But I keep it separate from everything else. I don't have the app on my phone. I'd have to look up our login information because I want to keep it out of sight, out of mind. But it's easy to access if we need it. If you are interested in an online savings account, I do have a video with the ones I recommend. I'll put a link to that down in the description box below. Next up, we have savings accounts, which are also known as sinking funds by some people. Sinking funds are just expenses that are not monthly, like Christmas. It just comes once a year. Or our life insurance we pay once a year, or maybe your car insurance you pay every 6 months. They're expenses you have that are not consistent every month. So we put away a little bit of money every single month so that when the expense comes, we have the money there for it. I keep these in an online savings account as well. I keep them separate from our emergency fund. They're in a separate account, and I like them in the online savings account because I can link them to this main checking account, but they are earning interest. And there are a lot of different places you can do online savings accounts, but I use Ally and they have a bucket feature. So we just open up one online savings account, and then we can open up to 10 different buckets. So we can have one for our car maintenance, one for our life insurance, one for Christmas, one for vacations. And I can visually see how much is in each of those buckets, even though there's just one account. But I like it in the online savings because there are no fees. It's really simple. Just takes a couple days to transfer money back and forth from that to our main checking account. And it has higher interest. Now I'm going to talk about how I keep our finances organized. There are a couple of things. First of all, I have an emergency binder that I created it myself. It has all of our financial information, everything we could possibly need, every bank account information, every investment account. It also has additional information like our insurance policies and all sorts of household information, medical information. It has a lot more than just finances, but it has everything we need for our finances, and it's all in one spot. Anyway, I like having it all together because if anything ever happened to me, I'm the one that does most of our finances. Anything my husband would need access to, he would be able to do anything, even if something happened to me. So I compiled this. I do sell it for a few dollars. I'll put a link to that down below. So with this, you can print it out and handwrite it in, or you can type it and then print it out. I put it in our fireproof safe. So we've got this fireproof safe. We have all of the information in there as well as the original documents like our passports, our birth certificates, things like that that we need to hang on to, I've got in the big, huge, heavy duty fireproof safe. Now, I also made copies of some of the pages and put it in a much smaller, more transportable case. So we have 72-hour kits. So if we ever need to, in an emergency, get out of our house, we can just grab this case. It is also fireproof, but it's lighter, easier to carry. We have copies of everything. So copies of those passports, copies of our driver's license. Now, also to keep our finances organized, I like to do a budget every month. Now, there are lots of apps, lots of ways to budget. There's no right or wrong way, but what works for me is a simple spreadsheet. I have used Excel. Currently, I am using Google Sheets so that I can access it from pretty much anywhere, and that's worked really well for me. But I keep it simple. I don't get too detailed, but at the beginning of the month, it's a planning session. I spend just a few minutes planning how much I think we'll make for the month, what I think our expenses are going to be. And then at the end of the month, I spend a few minutes going through and seeing how we actually did and see what changes we need to make for the following month. So I spend a few minutes and I do a relatively simple spreadsheet. You can grab my template, I'll put a link down below, or you can use an app, whatever works for you, but just spending a few minutes every month helps things stay organized. Now, the tips to keep your finances and your budgeting as simple and easy as possible. Tip number 1 is to do automatic transfers into savings. Now, what you need to do is you need to pay yourself first. So you need to put money into savings first, whether it's for retirement or for investments, or maybe it's saving up for your vacation or for Christmas. Put the money into the savings accounts or to the investment accounts first. And then what money you have left is what you have to live off of. Because if you wait until the end of the month to see what's left over, there will be nothing. And so you'll never put anything in those accounts. So pay yourself first and put money into those savings accounts first. The second tip is to auto pay bills and everything possible. You don't want to have late fees. You don't want to forget a bill. So have everything auto pay that you can. Now, a lot of bills will let you choose the due date. I like to choose the due date for my bills right after we get paid. So if you get paid on the 1st of the month and the 15th of the month, have your bills paid on like the 3rd or the 17th. So you know that the money from your paycheck has been deposited and will be in there. Tip number 3 is to set reminders, because not every single bill will be auto paid. So for us, our piano bill as well as our cell phone bill. We have a family member, we're on her plan. So she pays the cell phone bill every month, but then every month I pay her. But it's not auto pay. So what I do is I set a reminder on my phone for the 1st of the month. It pops up reminding me to pay our piano and our cell phone bills. So 4th tip is to average out your payments if it's possible. This is mostly for your utilities. Think city bill, water, garbage, electricity, gas. If they have the option for levelized payment or average payments, then go ahead and take that. It's going to vary drastically depending on where you lived. We've lived in several different cities. They've all done it differently. Some of them didn't offer this as an option. Some of them had different ways they did it. But for example, our gas bill, some months it's $20 a month, and then some months it's $140. So that's really hard to budget for. So our gas company, they let us do an average payment plan. So for 12 months, they take the average and we pay the exact same for 12 months. Then at the end of the 12 months, they reevaluate our usage and give us another average. So then we'll pay the same for 12 months. So it makes it so much easier to budget if it's consistent rather than $20 one month, $140 the next. Tip number 5 is to budget weekly. Now, I do a monthly budget. Almost all bills are paid monthly, right? So I create a monthly budget. But then when it comes time to the things I have control over, I do a weekly budget. So I figure out for the month how much we have for things like groceries, eating out, dates, personal money, things like that we have control over, those variable expenses. I figure out how much we have in the budget for the month. So for example, let's say I have $1,000 for the month for all of those variable expenses. Rather than giving myself $1,000 for the month, if I do that, I'll start off the month great and spend it all before the month's over. So what I like to do is divide it into weeks. So instead of $1,000 for the month, I get $250 per week. So each week I have $250. And then when I run out of money, I stop spending until the next week. So I can wait 1 or 2 days until it's a new week. But if I have to wait for a couple weeks at the end of the month, then I'm not going to do that. So I like to do it by the week. I also like to keep an envelope in my wallet and just track it. So every time I buy something, I subtract it. Tip number 6 is to keep a buffer in your checking account, whatever you feel comfortable with, but as long as you have a cushion in there, so you don't have to worry if a bill's a lot more than what you expect, or it comes out a day or two early, or maybe your paycheck's late. You don't have to stress. You know that there's always money in there to cover an expense, so you're not going to get charged an overdraft fee because you didn't have money in there. You're not going to get charged all these extra fees because there's always money in there. If you want to see how I do our monthly budgeting for our household, make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell. I do a video with our budget at the beginning of the month, and then I do a budget report at the end of the month. Otherwise, all of the videos I've mentioned, as well as the products I've talked about, I'll have links down in the description box below if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.